This is New York Nightly News with Chuck Scarborough. Live from Studio 3C in Rockefeller Center.
Finally tonight, a father's tribute to father in art. New York artist Max Ferguson has painted his father, Richard, in several iconic locations. And those paintings are now on display in an exhibit appropriately called Painting My Father. It's at the Hebrew Union College Museum. Max joins us here tonight. Welcome, Max.
Thank you very much.
We're flanked by some of your extraordinary work here. Delighted to have you here. When did you first start painting your dad?
I began painting him in 1982. I just wanted a generic businessman as a model, and so I used him as painting in a subway scene, which I was doing a whole series of subways, and that came out great, and then just did another and another and another.
Well, that began an obsession, didn't it?
I suppose so. I am certainly prone towards obsession, so I suppose this is one of them.
How did your dad cooperate with this? Was he happy to pose for you, or was he just indulging his son?
I think a little of both. He was certainly a very cooperative model and very appreciative of that, but certainly indulging his son as well.
Yeah. What was your technique?
It's in a nutshell, I use a lot of old master techniques, and I build up in layers, usually about 3 or 4 layers, and the paintings take 2 or 3 months to do per one.
Now, would you take a photograph of your dad in location, or did you actually have him pose there for hours while you studied it?
My preference is to work from life. Generally, that's somewhere between impractical and impossible. Yeah. So I will generally take photographic studies and use that as a starting point to use in the studio.
You painted your dad, what, 30-some times over the course of 20 years?
Well, actually, roughly 30 paintings over 30 years.
30 years? 30 years?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he passed away 7 years ago, but I continue to paint him. This was actually the very first painting I did after he passed away, of him in Katz's Delicatessen.
You actually, one of the more, I think, difficult paintings you did, and perhaps one of the more controversial, was you painted your dad in his deathbed.
Yes. It was an extremely difficult painting for me to do, but I felt it was necessary both to be cathartic for me, and unfortunately we're in a society where youth is so celebrated, and people get the idea that they can't get sick or die, and unfortunately we all do. So
did this painting become a major part of the relationship you have with your dad? Was this a way of communicating with him?
Sure, certainly, and I think to some degree post-mortem as well, keeping him alive in my life via the paintings.
So is it helping you accept his passing or deny it?
It's a little of both. It's funny, with, as mentioned, this painting of him in Katz is the first painting I did after he died, and I kept asking myself the question, is this my way of accepting and dealing with his death, or not dealing with it by trying to keep him alive? So I suppose a little of both.
You're still sorting that out, huh? Yeah.
Indeed.
What message are you trying to convey to the public at large when you do these paintings?
I suppose it's part of my relationship with him, the idea that the more personal you get, the more universal you become. What's been very nice with this exhibition is that so many people have told me they've just really related to it on a very personal level. They see their father as in my father, sort of as every man.
It's extraordinary. Max, thanks for coming in and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much.
That'll do it for New York Nightly News. See you at 11 on News 4 New York. Thanks for joining us. Good night.